Right, to start with apologies. I have quite a few today. Jane Smythe. Ray is at the D-Day commemorations,
Ooh.
and then he's off to Thailand. So we might not see him for a month, although he did say he'll try to get through from Thailand. Christine McIntyre, Shirley Simpkin, Jenny Leeson. Martin is in Thailand.
Yeah.
But he'll try and make it next time. Penny Grant, Roland Digger, and Jenny Leeson. Oh, got Jenny Leeson twice. Anyway, they're the apologies. Quickly, I'll run through things. We've had 54 say they would join the charity group.
That's good.
But only 6 so far have.
Right.
So we've got to really give it a little more plug because we do need more members if we're going to put the subscription down to £12.50, which will help all of you because you won't pay paying £25, you'll only be paying £12.50. We do really need more members, so we could just about make it at the moment, but it's going to be tight. Anyway, so that's what's happening. We had 16 maybes on the poll. The book draw, Sec has been in touch. He is willing to put 2 of his books in to donate to the book draw. That's No Mercy from the Japanese. I said his latest one, I think.
No, it's his. That was, I think, his first one. It's just been revised now. And released in paperback.
It's a paperback new version.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
2 years of Tenku, which I know came out about 3 years ago.
Yep.
And now he did ask, did he want me to send them to me, or did he want me to let him know where to post them? So I thought we'd have a chat here. I have sent him an email, Barbara, saying that if he wants to do an interview, to either, you two could arrange it, and then I'll set it up this end, okay, for you to do an interview when you feel better, of course. Or
Ronnie, can we introduce the new face on the screen, please?
Walter
Yes, Walter.
Tuttleby.
Ah, no,
I
it's
thought
Walter.
it was Walter. Yeah,
That's Walter. Walter
Hi,
in all his.
Walter.
Listen.
And his microphone's off.
Yeah, I've just turned that on. Can you hear us now, Walter? Walter.
His microphone's still off.
That's my end. It's my end.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Finally made it again.
Yeah. I thought you were in the nudity. By the looks of it, of course, I thought you had the top on. Anyway, right, we have started to record, Walter.
So the joke is forever recorded.
Yeah, that is recorded.
Do carry on the flow. You're talking about the books. Do carry on. Don't let me interrupt.
Sex said I'd ask him if he'd sign it. Now, I've been thinking about that. If Sec, my first thing was send it to Matt to sort it out. But on the other hand, if we sent Sec the name of the person who's drawn the book, Sec could sign the book to that person and send it.
Yeah.
Can you see what I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm.
Do we agree with that, Matt? Because I know you're doing the books. Because that would be a nice little touch. Because I can ask Sec to say to so-and-so, and then whatever the cost is with the books, will cover. Do we all agree with that?
Yeah.
So Matt send the books out, or Sec send the books out, and we reimburse them with the postage.
Yeah.
Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, sounds good.
I think we need to sort that out because we hadn't mentioned that before, and it's had troubled me as to how we finance the postage.
I did say to Matt early on that we would cover the postage, and I had to bring it up in the meeting so we all agree. But I think we ought to cover the postage, and if Sec is willing to donate the book, I think we ought to cover the postage from his house to whoever. But I think that would be best coming from him, because then he could put a nice little message in, and that would be a nice little touch.
Yeah.
John Moses has also said, I was hoping he was going to get in today, but he's been trying, but he can't get in. But anyway, he said he'd donate a book. I think he said a book. That could have been 2 books. I don't know. Can't remember. The first book we're doing would be Alistair Urquhart's book, The Forgotten Highlander, mainly because he was, that's the book. He was one of our people community members, and he attended our first gathering, didn't he, Keith?
Yep.
At Great Yarmouth. Lovely old chap, really lovely. He has such a nice personality. He came all the way from Scotland just to be there with us on our first People Day gathering, and really he was such a gentleman. And when he went to, I did put quite a few bits on to promote it. And when he went to America, Mary organised a trip to the submarine that sank the boat. And he did actually send me a T-shirt with it written across, which I've never worn. I've kept as a souvenir. But that was, he was a lovely old gentleman. So his book will be our first book to be drawn the beginning of July. So that'll be, we'll start at July. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah,
that's fine.
Right. So that's the book draw. So I think we're getting it organised. Barbara said she would do the interviews, which I think when your voice is good, Barbara, that would be brilliant.
I'm not coffee.
Yeah, no.
No. More gin.
Yeah. No, I think we all agree Barbara's got the best online voice. And she's,
No, you just collared me actually, but there you go.
I'm good at that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Well, if you don't want to do any, Barbara, and you don't feel you can, I know you've got not problems at home, but you are fairly busy at home. If you are too busy, let me know and I'll do it. But okay. I'd like somebody else to do it.
Yeah. As we're doing that book first, I'll just do a resume of him because I don't think he's going to be joining me.
No.
Well, I'll be surprised if he does. And so will you.
Well, I'm sitting at the table and can have hands on.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I have put bits on, and Mary from America did send me quite a nice article. I asked her if she'd write one because she was, Alistair called her his adopted daughter.
Aww.
So that she was very close to Alistair, and she wasn't so close to her dad, but she was very close to Alistair. But so anyway, so I put that on, Barbara. So if you could do a follow-up, can I leave you to do a follow-up on the Feeple community or the Feeple family? If you can do a follow-up on that to try and promote the book, maybe try and, jar people's memory that they did sign, they would come into it,
Okay, so you want me to do that actually written and on the FIPO?
Well, you
Facebook
have to
site.
do something written.
Yeah.
Could you not include one of the little video clips of Alistair just
well,
talking about his book?
Yeah, I did have a really nice one talking about his book, but I had a look on YouTube and that had gone.
Right.
And the one they had on there wasn't that good.
I think I may. Let me have a look. I may have it.
If you've got it, perhaps you could post it, and then Barbara can do a follow-up to that.
That sounds a good idea.
So if you can find it, because I had it and I put it on because I did a page for him on the Far Eastern Heroes just after he came to Great Yarmouth.
Well, I think it's that I've actually got. It's your post I've saved from some time ago. It's some time ago now.
Well,
but I'll have to look back to the history and on the files.
Yeah. what I did is when he came to 2007, we had the gathering. I used to get in touch with him quite a bit. So that was before his book, and we got together, and he kept on sending me emails. So I did put on the Far Eastern Heroes his story and part 2 to follow, and part 2 turned out to be his book. So that was that came out quite nicely, really. So I did do a bit about him going to America and the submarine and everything, and all the pictures are on the website, Barbara. So if you find that's under Alistair Urquhart, if you find that on Far Eastern Heroes, you'll see the page with all the the picture clips of him in America looking up through the submarine.
Oh, right.
One nice little touch from, I didn't know if you all read it, was Mary got in touch with the crew of the submarine and said, I'd like to bring him along and have a look at the submarine and everything. And one of the crew members saying, "Why is he coming? Is he still mad at us?" I thought that was brilliant. Anyway.
But at least he didn't take a gun and shoot them all, did he?
No. To be honest, Alistair weren't like that. He never, any time I got in touch with him, he never had any ill word about anything. Anyway, so that's the books. Is there anything Barbara or Matt want to say about the books?
No, well, you know yourself, Richard, I contacted him the other day, and he's offered to donate a copy of his book with the prisoner list, which is, where's the camera gone? There it is somewhere.
Okay. Go back a bit. That's it. We got it. Yeah, prisoner. Yeah.
Which I bought a copy of yesterday. But he doesn't want to do a video interview, which Barbara well knows. And I'm quite happy to, but I'm going to ask him if he would mind, because he did an interview on its original interview on his book, if he could perhaps steal that and use that. But I don't know. It's up to you. Do you think we should ask him or not?
Yeah, try chatting him up about it. If he won't do an interview with Barbara, she's not as bad as everyone thinks she is.
Thank you. I know Richard. Richard and I were in touch when his book first came out. So
I think he found the whole experience of actually doing an interview so personal to him very hard. That's the impression I get from him, and he doesn't want to repeat that, and I can understand it.
Yeah.
It must have been hard to write the book.
Yeah.
In a personal way. But I just thought if he allows to use what he's already done, therefore he doesn't have to be involved. It's just him introducing his book, really.
Yeah, that'll give it some publicity in any rate. So we've got to sort out, because Matt, you don't all know, but Matt sent me a really long list of the books he's got, and there is a lot there. I didn't count them, Matt. How many were there?
I think that list altogether is probably nearly 100, maybe 89, 90. But I've got a lot more.
So we have got a lot. We have got a lot of books to put on the drawer, and also what we could do. Barbara, you've just given me your sore throat.
It's catching. God,
yeah.
I'm taking my headset off and using the microphone.
Yeah, I think we want a mask each. Only joking, Barbara. Anyway, so the books, we've got. I think we're on the right level with the books. We're going along nicely. That takes me on to help. Now, okay, we've just talked about Barbara and Matt with the books. Brian Williams, who's a member of the charity group, he sent an email to me offering to help. And one thing I really have been a bit back on is my book list. So I did ask him if he would have a look at a spreadsheet. Unfortunately, he's a Mac, so I didn't know if he'd be able to use my spreadsheet. But I sent him a copy, and he now says he can use it. So I've sent him a list I had, and he said he's got a lot more. So he's going to add them to the spreadsheet, which he'll send back to me, and then I'll put it on the website. So we will increase the book library. Okay, so I've got somebody to help me with that. So that's going along okay. Matt, I've told everyone about you're doing the books. Barbara's doing the interviews.
Ronnie, did you ask Brian about coming on and being interviewed about his own book?
No, I haven't.
Because he's got a book. He's a member of our group in Birmingham, although he lives in Malvern. And we bought his book for one of our members' 80th birthday. And he came along and presented it to him. And it is a very neat and interesting little book. So he might come on and be interviewed.
What was the name?
Or I'll twist his arm.
What was the name? What was the name of it, Barbara?
Oh gosh, Keith, can you remember? It's about the Hussars.
Yeah, it's about the Hussars. Yeah.
Yeah, the Forgotten Squadron, something like that.
Forgotten Fort.
I'm not quite sure off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Especially with this cold.
Yeah. If you if you know Brian, he seems a nice chap. He's willing.
He is a nice chap. Yeah.
So so that's Brian. Brian. Jan Skilton, I never mention her, but she really does help me a lot with moderating the Feeple Family Facebook group. And one big thing we get on to was, that's going to come up, the scam. Really nasty. The chap was a member of the Feeple Family Facebook group, not the charity one, the other one. And we got a really nasty message to Jan saying that the whole thing was a scam. And she tried to get back to him, and he started getting really nasty. So I tried to message him to get involved, and he completely ignored me. But he threatened to put it on papers and everything. He's a nasty bit of work. So in the end, and I would like to thank Tim Lloyds. He got my feet on the ground. He sent me a really nice email to forward on to this chap, which I never did because I decided I'll get rid of him, forget it as in the past. But he did send me a nice email, and that really did help a lot. So Tim, if you're watching this, later on, I do appreciate the email. Oh, the email. It was really refreshing. So thanks a lot, and thanks to all those who backed me on that. You don't want things like that. I mean, you all know how long we all spend on this, and it was a stupid email this bloke sent. And at the same time, he actually signed in 6 more people. So he actually joined or tried to join 6 people, which we didn't accept because nobody comes in unless we accept them. So we got rid of him and the other 6 because we could see trouble brewing. Anyway, so the scam thing is over. Let's forget it. Let's get on with what we're doing. We don't want that. It's not. It doesn't help at all. So the help thing. I did some notes today, and they're brilliant. For half an hour, I sat here and scribbled some notes out. British Feeple thing. Coming on really nicely. I'm over halfway through it now. I'm into the L's, which L is halfway through, and I'm into the L's. This is the first run, if you all understand, because the next run will be to add the regiments and the units and where they were captured from the cards. So I'll do that on the second run. and then the runs after that would be to add little bits and pieces I can pick up, like I did in the Java index. So that would be a similar type of thing to that. But I'm now talking about years. If I can make it before lights out, we'll be there. But if not, you'll have to make right, so that was that. Facebook. Yeah, go on.
There.
Yeah.
On regards to the PayPal listing, you're breaking my heading for someone else because the mouth isn't working. I don't know if you can see all this, but this is months and years. But I've been compiling. I'm still a long way to go. But this is the prisoner of war nominal role from Rangoon, but I've also done for quite a few other places. But I've changed it from the nominal role to that includes the original unit and regiment they served with, and the final regiment they served with when they got captured, their birthday, their ranks, full names, where I can find it, the names of their next of kin or the parents or the wives or whatever, and obviously their death date. It's part of I did for the Burma Star Association, which I'm also part of. I started a database of all Burma Star awardees, all Burma Star holders, which people could basically just put in their relative details. And unfortunately, in the last 12 months, I a bit like the scam, but this wasn't a scam. The idiot went on and decided it would be funny to basically delete 700 names.
You always get idiots.
And it was my own fault because normally I kept backups, but for some reason I'd spent a lot of time on it. I hadn't actually backed it up. So I'm in the process of taking handwritten. I find I it's my strokes. I can't really write, so I've got handwritten notes that I've got to find them. I'm in my office, which is the other room, the bedroom, which my son is in at the moment because he's back from Brunei for a week. It's just full of files of anything to do with my initial investigation was finding out about my father's time. But I'm going to put all that together. But I have been doing this nominal role, and Ronnie, when I reach a certain point, I shall send it to you, and you'll be, or you can access it. You can use that. I mean,
yeah.
If it's any use to you.
Yeah, what we can do with that, Matt, what I'm using is the Japanese index cards. And then,
your information is just,
Yeah.
I've gone through it. What I've done is sort of expanded on that with the birthday of the prisoner, full name, ranks, and the service number, units, regiments they serve with, which camps they're in, because some were in 3, 4. I've got one guy who's in 9 different camps, and unfortunately he didn't survive because he kept on escaping. And when they were first in prison, when they were released, where possible, besides their next of kin, I'm also trying to put in what ship they traveled, but it's ship.
Camps and everything.
But also what ship they were actually repatriated. Because some went to Australia. Then they went to America, then they got shipped back to England. Some get direct shipped to England, some went to Canada. And that is a nightmare because...
the liberation ships are a nightmare. But the idea of what I'm doing is to start people researching. This is the main idea of this, because if you sent me a full list of Rangoon, I'd put it in the Roll of Honour. Because what this is to do is to get people to look, use the name, use the service number, because a lot of people who get in touch with me don't even know service number. So if they find out the service number from the list, they can then put it into the Roll of Honour search right on the first page, and that will tell them where the people are in the Roll of Honour.
Yeah.
So this was to do with Walter. Now, Walter, you're there today, and this was to do with you, mate. Because if you remember ages ago, you said to me, how are you going to link what you're doing with what people want to know? Well, I gave it a lot of thought, and I think this is the best way, because this is the intro, the British people. This is the intro where people can go in, find out service number, find out regiments, then they can go into the Roll of Honour. Of course, you know, the Roll of Honour holds most of my information on people, and then they can find the pages where they were, if they were in Japan, wherever they were, if they were died, and all the cemeteries and the memorials, so they can find out exactly where they were. So this British people thing is to link everything else together. That's the idea of it. So Walter, thanks, mate. I do register what people tell me, Walter. That might take me a little bit of time, but that does register. So the British, you see where I'm going now? I'm trying to link things, and if you have a look at the British people, on every page in the British people, there is a list of what people should be doing next. If you have a look at it, you'll see what I mean. So they can go down the list, and if they follow what I'm telling them to follow, they can find out quite a bit. That would be a good start to the research. Okay? So this is the idea, to try and link things together so we start people researching in the right way. Now, I know I haven't used Kofipo a lot, but I have said to people in the list to go to Kofipo and have a look at the liberation questionnaires, because then they'll find out the camps. On the list, they can find out what the Japanese index card, where it is, what file it's in. So that will give them a good start to research. Okay, so that is the idea of really building this up. Now, the first run is really just to get all the names on. Over 58,000 is going to take me quite a while, but I'm halfway, so I'm getting there.
Ronnie,
yeah,
can I just interrupt a second?
Yeah.
Not everybody captured in Burma and held in Rangoon jail had an index card.
No, well,
so I've got a complete roll of the guys in Rangoon jail that I've got to put on a spreadsheet. It's what I got from the National Archives at Kew.
Well, if you send me it, but I mean, I did tell you last time, if they didn't have an index card and they are on the Kofipo list of POWs,
they won't be.
So if they aren't on there, can you send me the list and I'll add it? But try and send it as soon as possible, because after I've added the names, I then have to put it on the pages. And although it takes me about a couple of weeks to add one letter, all the names, it does take me a couple of days to put that information on the web, because it takes time. I can't, it ain't a matter of doing that, it's a matter of putting it on. But it does take me quite a while. So if you can send me the list as soon as possible, otherwise I've got to go back. And if I go back, it's going to take me a lot longer.
I'll try to, Ronnie, but at the moment I'm doing a lot of work for Meg Parks for this exhibition and stuff that's coming up.
Oh, yeah, right.
So at the moment it's taking most of my time.
Well, I've finished a copy of yours that you're working on, Think, the Rangoon Nominal Roll, and I'm comparing it with what I was doing, and there's certainly people on there who were never identified on the Japanese, or even didn't complete a release form afterwards.
No, that's right.
A lot of them died, unfortunately, and so they just. I mean, there's one chap who up until 1946, his parents were convinced he was a prisoner of war. But the fact about he'd only been a prisoner of war for 3 weeks and he was murdered by the Kemptai Japanese police. And they didn't know that. But,
Cool.
you find out these things, it takes an awful long time, but I have been working on that list. But it's all started for me trying to find out about my father, like I think for all of us. And people then, I'd say, they said, "Oh, can you find my dad?"
Yeah. Oh, that's how it started with Ronnie and all the rest of it.
And I was just going, okay, and so I found it. Is this him? Yes, that's him. And I go and find a bit more information and go, there you go. One young lady, I managed to find her father's medals, she was in Coventry. Her grandfather's medals, she's in Coventry, and her medals, her grandfather's medals, were in some guy's collection in Australia. How they got there, nobody knows. But I contacted him, and the goodness of his heart, within 2 weeks, he sent her grandfather's medals.
That's nice.
That was marvellous. So that sort of prompted me to do a bit more. And so every week I get at least maybe.
Can I just ask, how did they know they were his medals?
Because
they're not named, are they?
Some aren't. Most aren't named, but some are. I mean, one or two of my fathers have got his service number on the edge.
Yeah. My dad's, I've still got my dad's in the original box that were posted in. So I've got his name across the box with all his medals in it.
I've got my dad's that he threw away and we managed to. But I lost the original box, the brown cardboard box. I've still got the white box, his efficiency medal. I've still got the white box for his defence medal.
Yeah, but what we'll do is there are quite a few because I've found it quite interesting because I mean going into there are quite a few from Rangoon and from the fighting in Burma that did have Japanese index cards, Keith.
Oh yes,
I've come across quite a few. So there are some there.
Yeah.
But if there's some missing, I really want to. I could do with putting a Burma list in the Roll of Honour, because I've got regiments in there, and I could put a Burma list or put a main Burma list in. So maybe we can get together on that, Matt and Keith, and I can put in because I've got the Java index, I've got various things going on in there, I've got loads going on, but I could say Burma. Have one of my main things as Burma and try and do something on Burma. Because the Roll of Honour is for everyone. It's not just the Feebles, because as I said last time, we have got some World War One. I've got some sewers, and some that weren't even in conflicts. One person sent me 3 from a family. And they weren't in any conflicts, but I added them because they were in the services. So I did add them. Anyway, let's get away from that. We'll talk about that again later. Okay. Facebook. I'm trying to go through my list. Facebook. I did do a test, misinterpreted by a couple of people thinking that they could talk to it, which they couldn't, with using the Facebook People Family page. If we can, we could do that today for at the end of the meeting or towards the end of the meeting, that we just do a piece and I can put it directly on Facebook. They did have it when we started. If you remember, I was really annoyed because they took it off, but they have actually put it back on now. So we can do a recording straight onto Facebook. So people who are in Facebook, we can see us. That'll be about 5 seconds later than we're actually talking. But they will actually see our recording come on Facebook. Okay. Which could be a nice little thing.
Yeah.
Kevin is the one on this, isn't you, Kevin?
Yes, that's right, yes.
So do that sound good? So we can say, because I don't think we can record at the same time as doing the Facebook. Okay, that will only let us do one or the other. So what we could do is end the meeting and just have a brief discussion on, say, the books or whatever at the end of the meeting. Just 5 minutes, which will go on Facebook. What do the people reckon, or do we want to do this next time?
I think it's I don't think we'd just do that on the spur of the moment, to be quite honest.
We've got to say
keep it short and concise.
Yeah.
So maybe we should have a little think, and Kevin's probably better, maybe a sort of general roundup, a quick sort of. This month's PayPal video meeting, we discussed the following items and just a quick resume, and then basically any comments from people who've joined us to watch this would be welcome on the general PayPal page. But I think if we just to give a section of this, it would be, if they don't know quite what we're discussing and haven't read, they don't know the history of what. It'll be confusing. Just go, I don't understand what you're talking about. Well, it's about books and all the rest of it. So I think it just needs to be maybe a couple of minutes long, short, concise video, and maybe just showing a picture of the memory list or the heroes list or the books or whatever. What do we do?
Can I suggest, Barbara, if your voice is okay by the next one, which is the 15th.
Yeah.
Could you put something together so at the end of our meeting or 5 minutes towards the end or whatever, we could stop the record and you could introduce the Feeple Family Charity Group. We'll be online, so you can introduce the people because they'll see it at the bottom of the page and what we're about. And an intro into the book draw in July. What do you think, Barbara?
Yeah, that should be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be best if we have one person introduce it, and the rest of us tend to keep a bit quiet and let you do it. Okay.
And mention that it's £12.50 to join to get the benefits.
£12.50 for the year, and that includes. My way of thinking was, if we said £12.50 and they got a chance of a book per month, that will cover their £12.50, wouldn't it? If they got a book.
Yeah. Are you going to do the £12.50 as a rolling thing from when they join, or are you going to do it like other groups have, where
everyone
you join?
Yeah, everyone, including the members we've got now, like yourself, everyone. Will all be £12.50 if we can get enough members.
Yeah, but say they join now, they pay in 12 months' time, whereas I joined in, say, October. So, do you want to stagger it? I know Gillian does it for you.
Yeah, that'll be staggered. That'll be the best way to do it, because otherwise
I don't want Gillian to be overloaded.
To be honest, Gillian has gone through a bad patch at the moment with her hips.
Oh, bless her.
She had arthritis. That's why we were going to move into a bungalow, but now it's gone into her hips, and she can hardly walk. So she's having X-rays on the 14th of June. She's having X-rays and see what they can do with her hips. There's definitely going to be one replacement, could be two. So I'm hoping she'll get it done, and then we can stay where we are, because I love it here. We put a lot into this house, so I'd rather stay here than move into a bungalow. But we'll see how it gets on. Anyway, get away from that, Barbara. Yeah, leave it to you to put something together. Okay? We really do want just one voice. The rest of us on screen so people can see. You can introduce us, but you do the talking, nobody else. What I can do is mute all the mics, so we just have you talking. Okay?
Right.
I think that would be a nice Well, you come across really nicely, so yeah, all right.
You don't know me.
We've organised that for the 15th
Okay.
or 15th. Right. Japanese index cards. Yeah, just briefly, Keith, I had one POW with 4 index cards.
I made a note of that, so I can have a look at those for you.
Honestly, it was ridiculous. 2 of them were just G Leighton, 2 G Leighton. The other 2 were George Leighton, but they're all the same service number. So they were all the same person.
Yeah.
2 were made out in Malaya and 2 made out in Thailand.
Oh.
So that was quite strange. And they, the 2 that were made out in Malaya were the shortened version, just with briefly the number and a line across, because he died, of course. And then the other ones from Thailand had more information, which might help you with what you're saying about the Thailand cards. But anyway, that was George Leighton, and I left the service number on Facebook, so you can pick it up from there. But it was Northumberland Fusiliers. That's ever so strange, because you go through the cards that you find this, Keith, and the first few letters I went through, is that okay, Walter? Is that nice and tasty? I've noticed Walter doesn't offer things around.
He's eating his rice ration.
And his mic's off as well, so.
Do you want your mic off, Walter?
Sorry, I'm munching breakfast.
That's okay. Leave you to it. I turned it off so it wouldn't disturb.
But can I pick up on something from earlier on?
Yeah, go
on. This issue of sort of helping people research. One of the things that I've found I'm going to have to do, I haven't had time. I've had very little time for VPO stuff so far this year, unfortunately. But researching my dad's story, initially I thought I'll find nothing out about him, because he wasn't an officer. He was in an obscure bit of the anti-tank. Gradually, bit by bit, I've been building up a bit more of the picture here and there. One of the things I found is, every now and then I will find a book that has a mention of the 85th Anti-Tank, which is the regiment he was in. And so I've now got, I now know about 5 books, I think, probably, that have some reference to them. And it occurred to me that at some stage, if other people want to do similar sorts of things, I mean, what happens at the moment is, you end up with sort of, one person who knows, because of something like me, I'll end up knowing quite a bit about the 85th Anti-Tank. And what usually happens is, there are these people here and there, and, unless you start ferreting, you probably don't find out who they are. But one possibility could be, over time, and I'm not suggesting or volunteering for this at the moment, Ronnie, because I know what you're like. But if we're compiling this book list, if members know of, or who read these books, spot different regiments and so on, would it make sense to introduce some additional fields for to capture that information, to save everyone having to read thousands of books, which we're never going to do?
Yeah, the thing is, what I've done is I've put notes at the end. So the notes at the end you can add to.
Okay.
If I think it's best that way, because then people can, or I can, or other people, like hopefully Brian.
And presumably you could actually search the web page for that, for example, for 85th Anti-Tank.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you do just do a search on that page and come across it. I use search on the page quite often.
That could work quite well, actually, because that would then get picked up in the search engines too if people were searching for it, wouldn't it? Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
when I've done Far Eastern Heroes, what I've done is I've put Alistair, if he was in, say, Thailand, and if he was on the boot, um, what I've done is I've reddened the words that stand out, so people can see where the person was.
Yeah.
Which does help them look through the Far Eastern Heroes and can pick out bits where their person was. The nice thing about this British people list is after the second run, now if you want to see what I've done in the eyes, I wanted to see what it was going to look like, and there wasn't so many eyes. So what I did is I had time up North Norfolk and I didn't want to start on the next letter there. So what I did is I spent a couple of days adding the regiments and the units the regiments mainly, to the eyes so I could see what it was going to look like. And it works out quite well. Now, after run 2, hopefully you'll have the regiments and the units with every name. And what I can do with the spreadsheet I'm doing is I can collate, say, that was the 85th, wasn't it? 85th anti-tank, because I've come across quite a few anti-tanks in the cards. Now, what I can do is, when I've done this list, I can then do another spreadsheet, putting all the regiments together. So I can find out the full regiments of, mine was the Royal Norfolks. So Royal Norfolk's 4th, Royal Norfolk's 5th, Royal Norfolk's 6th. And that was 80 and 85, wasn't it, anti-tank?
And 125.
Yeah, so I could put them together and add them to the regiments within the Roll of Honour on a list. So this is going to really be something I can look at and you can look at in the future. Now, what I could do, Walter, I don't know if you're staying away because you were frightened I was going to give you work to do.
No, that wasn't the reason.
No, but what I could do later on is when I get to a certain stage, I could send you the full list of all your dad's regiment, which the anti-tank were a regiment. That wasn't the RA. What did they call it? Because they were members of the RA, but they were in the regiments.
I know. They still call the RA a regiment. I look on the RA as a corps.
So you've got 2 regiments.
So you've got, it's like artillery, and then you subdivide into regiments.
Wasn't it that their initial holding regiment was the Royal Artillery?
Yep.
But then they were subdivided and appointed to serve with other regiments because they were anti-tank, and so they would go and serve with infantry or whatever. So they could be initially Royal Artillery, but they're serving with you can serve with the Dorset or serving with any other regiment, but they are a subdivision of the Royal Artillery.
A lot of the POW cards just have Royal Artillery, no subdivision of regiment.
Basically, they in their pay books, they are Royal Artillery.
Yep.
Yeah.
They just got sent where a bit of welly was needed at the time.
Well, that's right. I mean, my father was Royal Artillery, and I'm still arguing with the Royal Artillery Association because he got sent to Africa to train Africans to go to Burma to fight.
Yeah.
But when they left Sierra Leone with their African troops, they suddenly became the Royal West African Artillery Forces, Armoured Forces, and he disappeared. So it took a long time to. But he was in Royal Artillery then. Yes, he was. He was still serving as in Royal Artillery, but he was seconded to the Royal West Africans. But a lot of Royal Artillery people were sent and seconded to different regiments, different forces, different. I mean, there's a 2,000 or so 2,500 Royal Artillery actually served with Australian forces.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And they're actually on the Anzac sites.
Yeah, but I have the same trouble with the Royal Corps of Signals.
Yep.
That's it again.
Yeah, I have the same trouble with them. I mean, you find them, and they're under an RA regiment, but they're still Royal Corps of Signals.
Yep.
So you have to have the main regiment is the Royal Corps of Signals, but they're attached.
So this is why.
The RA ain't like that, though, are they? The Royal Corps of Signals were attached to regiments, but the RA had regiments within the regiment, which is a bit strange.
You'll find that. I mean, I don't know. I think you've all come across it. You've got a name, and you've got a number, and you've got a regiment, and blah blah blah. And all of a sudden, you've got the name, same date of birth, different number, different regiment, same parents, and you can look, were they brothers? And you go a bit further, and you suddenly find this is the same person.
Yeah.
But it appears in two different records, serving with this regiment and serving with that. But the dates, when you go into it, you see, oh yeah, he was transferred, acting under that regiment until such and such a date, and then he reverts back to his original.
Yeah.
But it's confusing. So you can end up, if you like, I mean, I've done it a few times, chasing your own tail because you're going, well, that can't be him because that's not who he served with. And people, when they ask me to find out, quite often go, oh, I know he served with so-and-so. Okay, so you start off with that, and you find out he didn't actually serve with so-and-so. He was, example in time, the West Yorkshires. He recruited in Northern Ireland, trained with the West Yorkshires, got sent with the West Yorkshires, but was then seconded to the 77th Division Indian Army. How did he get into there? He was in Africa. But then you find out that some were sent then from West Africa because times were hard and they desperately needed people. And the African War, had changed a little bit. And we were now more in an established situation in Africa, so they could afford to send people to India and Burma. And they just changed their regiments. They just went, you, gone. You're no longer in this. You've given me this part of this. And so when they leave, they don't. Some did go back to the original regiment, others didn't, and they got discharged from the army as serving with anybody, basically, and that can make confusion. But it's signs of war. That's the way I put it. It's signs of war. And people with the best will in the world, even these days, don't keep proper records. Yeah, when you've got people shooting at you and blowing you up, you got going, well, today's a lovely day, blah, 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 so-and-so's doing this and so-and-so's doing that. You just go, send 240 oaths to help the Dorsets or the Links or whatever, and that's it, gone.
Yeah.
It's later on that they could start to make things right at the end of the war when it's a bit of a mess.
Well, the stupid thing is that the list we're finding, Keith, some of the lists are made up after the war by memory of the officer.
Yeah.
And they're actually forgetting. You can't possibly remember everyone's name during the war. I mean, that's ridiculous. You have a list come up of, say, 26 names, and you know for a fact there was, say, 200 in there, and you've only got 26 names or whatever. But, you've got to work on what you got. Keith, come on, Keith, your say. Come on, have your say.
Well, just
I've done too much.
Looking about, people saying, oh, you sometimes come across things. So in the admissions and discharge register for Roberts Hospital in 1945, we find a Gunner Tuttleby, who was admitted to hospital with BT malaria from the 5th of March to the 12th of March 1945.
Really?
Really, and that's only one register. I've not looked through the others yet, but going through, I've come across a number of names. Jack Chalker was one of them.
Can you ping me that information, Keith, please?
Yeah, I've taken a photo of it, so I'll dig the
Thank
photo out and send that to you. But I just, you're going through, you suddenly come across, oh, hello, I recognise that, and it's like two guys in the Birmingham Club. I've come across their fathers. So yeah, but I'm going through all of the sick registers. That's the next project. I finished the one I was doing. I finished that yesterday. So
what are these sick registers? Where'd you get them from?
The Sick Register Company. they're cute. In actual fact, these ones that it was Martin that put me onto them. If you're looking at W0347, it used to be you just had 11 registers in there. I think it was about 11 or 12, something like that. There's now quite a number more that were sort of released in 2015.
Are these on Find My Past or no?
Unfortunately not, Roddy, no.
No. Find My Past is a bit misleading, really.
It can be bloody frustrating as well.
They seem to take the information from people who are putting information trying to find out their past, and they might go, oh, I'm looking for my dad, his name was Fred Herbert, and he served with the Berkshire Regiment. And it suddenly appears on Find My Past as Fred Herbert served with the Royal Berkshire between 1939 and the poor bloke never existed in that regiment. His name wasn't Fred, his name was George. He's been registered, and he served with, I don't know, maybe it's the Duke of York's West Riding Regiment. So the information is wrong. People, and like Ronnie said, after the war, they tried to get war diaries. I mean, I've got a copy of the war diaries from my father's, and I've had to get them all. And they're just so disjointed. But you can see where, and I think it's the case with a lot of war, after the war, when they're trying to get this right, a new hand has come, all of a sudden these diaries are neat, highly written, and they're including information. It's quite often it's wrong because they're doing scraps of paper. I mean, if you look at the war diaries for the period at Kohima, they're perfect.
Well, that's got to have been written after the event, then, hasn't it?
Hey, there's a bloke there in his little desk in the middle of the tennis court going, can you stop firing a minute? How many of them are you?
Yeah.
There's 360 Japanese, and there's how many of you? Okay.
This book, can you see that?
Yeah.
That was written by a mate of my dad's. They were in the camps together. And I like this page I came across when I was reading it the other day. Later on that year, I had my real first taste of tropical disease. I had been sent to a transit camp at Chiang Kai. And then I'll miss the next bit out. He had malaria. I'll miss the next bit out. And then 2 days later, after a terrible ordeal, I sat up in bed. Next to me were two sergeants with bad tropical ulcers. Rummaging in my makeshift wallet, I discovered a postcard. I stared at the name on the card and with a number alongside it and words like Norfolk written beside it. In puzzlement, I turned it over and found, written on the back, the words Prisoner de Gare. That's French. I don't know if I pronounced it right, but there you go. In fact, it had come from my people. My first contact with him for over 2 years. I spoke to the sergeant in the bed next to me. This is him, what he said. Whose name is this? Pointing to the card. He looked at it for a moment and answered, yours. And the numbers, I queried, what do they mean? It's your army number. What army?
Yeah.
Before he could answer, I became distracted for coming through a small opening in the hut wall with a fellow in a peat cloth cap, dirt and unshaven, a rifle slung over his shoulder. Who's that? I demanded. That's my friend. He's a Japanese guard, and you have been a prisoner for over 2 years. He'd completely lost his memory. And he woke up in bed and didn't even remember he was a prisoner of war.
It could have been the malaria. It could have been the malaria, Ronnie, that
Yes.
attacks the brain.
So if it, like this book, that period was completely blank to him. He did, so we're now going to miss a period in his Japanese POW where he got malaria. But absolutely, I've read this. Some of the bits in it really, really get me. He actually did start off the gang shows in Chonkai because he had a theatrical background. So he did start off and they called them gang show until the Japanese stopped them because they said they were getting too much, for the railway. Anyway, quick word. I won't go to you, Bob, because I know you're struggling. Walter, you've had a little say. Have you got anything else?
No, I think been some interesting stuff come up today.
Actually, Walter, it's nice to see you again, mate, because I was hoping you were going to come on in the past, but it's good to see you online again. Yeah,
no, I've been conscious of missing it, but some Sundays I've been at church, and other days I've just been busy with other stuff and sort of visiting people and things. So it seems to have been I don't know where the last 6 months has gone. It's amazing. It's nearly halfway through the year.
Well, yeah, I've had the same thing because we've been messing around with bungalows and everything, and the last 6 months has been a pain in the butt. But that is really nice to see you, and I do appreciate when people are on because we do get feedback. And Walter, you gave me that feedback, which made me think, and hopefully I've gone along some good lines here about the British people list. All for what you said, Walter, because this is now kind of an index to my other web pages. So that's going to help no end. So well done, mate.
Just picking up on something that I think Martin said earlier on, do make sure you keep everything backed up, won't you? And make sure you've got an article in your will saying who that backup should go to.
My computer will go to the Feeple family, so you'll get all my files within the Feeple family. So don't worry about it. You'll get everything. So there won't be...
I remember that was your health scare that kicked the whole thing off. Gosh, what was it? 3 years ago now?
No, 6.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, 6 years ago now. When I got pleurisy. To be honest, that was a shake-up for me because I laid in the hospital bed thinking I weren't going to come out, and all the things that I hadn't done I wanted to do, and of course that pushed me to. I'd been doing stuff on the thing, of course, because you all know I did the Java Index from when Andrea Beckett. I'm getting terrible on names. That was Andrea Beckett, I'm sure it was, who started off the Java Index. Was about when she died, it had about 3,000 names, and it ended up when I finished doing it because Brian Green, what was Brian Green, weren't it, Keith?
Yep.
Brian Green died, and he said he was going to help me when he got better, and he unfortunately died. And I thought to myself, well, I got some bad feedback from the Java Club, and I thought, no, it's about time I started thinking about, it's about time I started thinking more of my dad, what he did, and not so much on other people. Because I've got about 33,000 names on by then. And then I, like we said earlier, I wasn't just putting names on, I was adding what camps they were at, where they went, what ships they were on, and everything. And that took about 12 years of my life up, which really is okay. But you're concentrating on something, which the Java Index is good for people, but that wasn't where my dad was. So I was doing all this, mate, and I'll tell you what happened. Roger Mansell from America, he got in touch with me and said, would you mind taking it over? So I said, well, yeah, I'll take it over. And so that was Roger Mansell as well. Unfortunately, Roger died about 5 years ago now. Roughly
Longer than that, I think.
Yeah, he was a good mate. He used to send me loads and loads of files to add on to the Roll of Honour. Anyway, so
Don't you managing this site as well then, Ron?
Sorry?
Are you still managing that site as well then?
No, not that. Which one do you mean?
Roger Mansell's site's managed by Wes Inyard, I think.
No, okay. I never managed his site, but we used to get together on files. So I used to give him files, he used to give me files.
I see.
And so we used to kind of help each other. Roger was a good chap. No, I did the Cathedral one at the beginning. I did Arthur Lane's.
You have fingers in lots of pies, Ronnie.
Yeah, well, you know loads of people, but unfortunately most of them are gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arthur Lane went about 3 or 4 years back. Funny chap, but he did a lot. Anyway,
speaking of people who are still around, for info, I saw Bob Hucklesby this past week.
Oh yeah.
He lives not too far from me down in Poole, probably about 40-minute drive, and he's not been as well the last year or so, so he's getting out less. But it does mean that he's appreciated visits, and I've been able to see him a bit more. But I mean, a thought that just went through my mind earlier on was, I know his computer has been out of action until recently, but I think it's back in action now. But if it's okay, I might sort of forward a link to him. Maybe he might like to sort of sit in on one of these, perhaps.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, if you let me know his email address when he wants to sit in, I can add him to the list, and he can just sit in on the meeting. I'll add him to the invite, so we get an invite, so we just go on to blah blah blah.
Well, what I'll do is I'll your email address, Ronnie, and let him sort of take the initiative on that if he wants to.
And another thing you can do is, I did set it up a little while ago, so if anyone wanted to do a meeting with somebody on computer on using Blue Jeans, I can arrange an invite, so you can go into Blue Jeans and do an interview with the person at the other end. So it might be handy for us all. Kevin, we haven't gone to Kevin. Come on, Kevin.
Yeah. Sorry, Ronnie. I've updated Blue Jeans, and it doesn't seem to be working very well for me. Like, the sound's terrible. But I have been busy in the background. I've actually transferred my website to a new server, and I've done a really good lot of work on the roll call of my dad's unit, which was the REOC-ZAOW. As I said, Ronnie, I think I did email you. If you want to use anything on that, that's you can do anything you like with that. That's the full list of the men in his company, and I've done exactly what you've been talking about, where they were and where because they ended up on the Thai Burma Railway, they ended up on the Sumatran Railway, and they ended up in Palembang. Some ended up in Taiwan, so they were spread all over the Far East. So if you want to have a look at that, and if you want to use anything on there, you're quite welcome to do it. I'll send you the link.
Yeah, send me the link, Kevin. Send me the link, and then I can have a look. I mean, what I can do if you wanted to. Did you have it on spreadsheet or database?
Well, I've got it on the database. I think I've got it on the spreadsheet as well. The website. Yeah, the website's is more like interactive, if you like,
Well, spreadsheets are okay because I can transfer them to database, and I can add it to the regiments within the Roll of Honour. So if you have a look at regiments, I've got Royal Norfolk in there and Exeter in there and whatever. So anyone who wants, they can send me the spreadsheet. Now, bear in mind, I am doing this, and when I get my head down doing this, my head is down doing it. I really do concentrate on what I'm doing. So I start about 6 and I finish mid-afternoon, but by that time I'm absolutely knackered. My brain is going all over the place. And going back to what we said, I use Find My Past, I use Forces Network, and I use the Commonwealth War Graves. Because if I use the three of them, I can put a good information together on one person.
Yeah. Well, what I'll do is I'll put it in a spreadsheet for you, Ronnie, and I'll email it.
That'd be handy, because what I'll do is I wouldn't add it to what I'm doing now, because I'm concentrating mainly on the Java index card, the Japanese index cards. But what I can do is add it within the Roll of Honor. So if people go into the British Feebles and find a name and serial number, they can then pick it up within the Roll of Honor and go to that. So that does kind of flow a bit. So the Roll of Honor would be the best place to add it.
Yeah.
And it's the same as the Rangoon and Burma. In the future, I'd like to say, well, let's do something on Burma and add a full list of people who died in Burma, which I think I might have most of them, because most did the ones who died in Burma and didn't have a grave. Oh, they went on the memorial at Burma, didn't they?
Rangoon Memorial.
Rangoon Memorial. So I have got them on the site. They are on the Roll of Honor because I've got the full Rangoon Memorial on there, same as the Singapore Memorial. So yeah, they will be on there. But that would be nice to have a piece on Burma.
Yeah. One of the other things I was looking at, I was talking to Keith about it, was about I've got a 6-month gap from when my father, at the end of the war, until he actually got back home, and I haven't a clue where he was. And actually, my sister did say, "Oh, well, did you not know he was in Australia?" And he had actually wrote from Australia to my mother, asking her if she wanted to emigrate to Australia, because he was taken from Palembang, and he must have went to Australia as part of the recuperation, and it took him 6 months to get back to England.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm. That's one of the things I'm looking at. But unfortunately, I've tried to contact the Red Cross, the International Red Cross. They do some research for you, but it's almost impossible to actually get in. They do send. Yeah, you do.
Sorry, Kevin. Have you tried contacting the? It's not the ANZAC as such, but they'll give you. I've forgotten it now. I've got it somewhere. But the British prisoner of war who were released and then taken to Australia to recuperate. My brain. There's an Australian society. It's not the ANZAC, but it's associated with the ANZAC society, and they had a list of all and where they were stationed. A lot of them were sent out, and they were just put with families. In some cases, if it weren't too bad, they were just, can you have this person? Here's some food, and here's some to clothe them, get them healthy again. Others are put in recuperation rest homes and hospitals, and basically had to reach a certain weight. And
that's right,
before they could be transshipped. I mean, ones to Australia, some went to New Zealand, some went to America, some went to Canada, some went to South Africa.
Yep.
They were spread out because they didn't want them coming back in the state they were in, because which was why a lot of them had to sign the secret acts and never discuss it again.
Yeah, Tim Lloyd's put a nice piece on Facebook about that. Did you all read it? That was he came across that was on the Mansell site, and that was a list of some of the liberation ships and who was on what. That was quite interesting.
I think I saw that.
If you have a look on Facebook, and you can pick it up from there. But Tim came across that. I thought it was very interesting. I haven't. I did tell you before that I forget his name now. In America, he promised to send me the lists of the liberation rolls which he had that went to America, but he never did. But that looks quite interesting. That could be the list he's on about. That's a PDF file, and
I've got a list of liberation ships that. I mean, most of them were destroyed in the 50s by the Americans and by the British. but I have in one of the Burma files, POWs, Japanese POWs, I have a list of the repatriation ships from September 45 to March 46 or 47. But anyway, a list of the boats that went from that sailed from India to Australia, America, and Canada, and Liverpool. And only 4 in that time actually sailed direct from India to Liverpool, but the rest all went. And it's a list of all the aircraft, all the ships that we use, and in some cases I've got the lists of the passengers involved, or the repatriated members. It's in another file, and I've never really transposed it. Oh, this is the.
That's all the Liberation puts on there. I put them on a few years back.
Oh, I've not seen that one.
No, that's got all of them on there. I put it on a few
but
years
that's what I've got is a list. It's
that's a list of, you can go into ships' names, you can go into the departures.
Oh yeah, it's very similar, but it's because the amount of people on board.
This got on where I have got the amount of people they're added, but that's on.
That's on the three-power side, isn't it? Yeah.
No, it's on the Britain at War.
What is it?
Yeah, that's one on the other
Right,
side. Britain at War, you've got by date, you've got the planes by date, you've got the ships by date or by name or departure or arrival.
I think Martin was saying he had some lists of passengers as well, though, didn't he?
If you have a look on that thing that Tim put on, they have got on there the full rolls of the passengers, which is brilliant. But have a look on.
It would be good to link from that page of the ships to that other set of lists. Then you could put maybe just a link at the top of that page you're showing there, Ronnie, saying that there are lists of passenger rolls, and provide a link to it.
Yeah, this comes under Britain at War, but if you have a look under, most of my early stuff is still within the FEPL community. So if you go into the FEPL community, these are all the things I wrote as from about 1990 onwards.
Yeah.
And so you can go down and, you've got the theatres of war, you can go into Burma and whatever.
Yeah.
And now all these, you can go into the Cambridges.
Now, Ronnie, my only reason for saying that is I, for one, did not spot that link that you're referring to that Tim put up there. And Facebook is very ephemeral. It's gonna have disappeared. Whereas if you stick it on there, it'll be permanent, and people will be able to make that link.
I mean, I only got the information I've got because someone asked me to find out how their father had got back to the UK and why he'd been discharged in Glasgow, and what had happened between his release and getting to Glasgow. And there was like an 18-month gap. And I couldn't find out further, and it's the guy in Canada, and she said, I'll send you this information. And he sent me something very similar to the list that you had, Ronnie, but with a load of information on it. And that's how I started off.
Yeah, Matt, we were talking about Burma, and I did do a lot on Burma, because I said to you last time, my uncle was in Burma.
That's right,
and I did add a load of London Gazette supplements years ago, and this one is on Burma, and they're supposed to be, in sections, so you can go to it, and part one, and there's a lot in there. You see, I used to just add bits as I found them, or someone said something about something. I just used to look it up, but there's loads in there. But if you go to the FEPL website and just go to the FEPL community, because that was the site we used to use, And then you've got articles, and these are all articles that, so you can just click on them and go into them.
All right, I'll see that, Ronnie. Can I just change the subject a little bit? I've just come across a bit of paper going through my dad's file, and it says he's not his release pay, but it gives his rates of pay from 39 up to 46, and it's just it starts off with 39 to 42. His rate of pay is one shilling and sixpence per day. By the time he got to Burma, he got to 5 shillings and threepence a day. 3rd of the 9th of the 44 went up to 7 shillings and sixpence a day. 1st of the 11th 44 was 8 shillings and 10pence, 7 halfpennies and 7/8 of a penny per day. And he's like owing. He was basically owing, trying to work out what he was going to come out with. Because he'd only ever drawn in that the whole time from going to Africa to coming back to England, he'd only drawn a total of £15, 1 shillings, 9.5 pence, 9 and 1 halfpenny.
Yeah.
In the total period of time. So his release pay, but he was working out on this. On the back of a, what was the bet on the back of a roll, all forms, Army 4 Men 1513, what he was hoping to come home to. It was worked out as a total for 7 years service, if you like, was £89.42.
Yeah, my dad got.
Because he paid national insurance. I didn't know that. They had to pay national insurance all through the war.
Yeah, well, my dad got £76, and because my dad left my mum without a house because they'd just got married, he was actually joined up after they got, but he joined up before they got married, so he got married while he was in uniform, and he left her with the baby in arms, and so she didn't have a house, so she used to live with her family throughout the period of the war, because she didn't have a house, and of course she's short on money, so the money they'd saved she spent, and then she in the end had to go to national assistance, and when Dad got his £76, they looked up what Mum had taken out of national assistance and took it out of it. So they didn't get the £76.
I hadn't realised it just now, and I thought, what is this bit of paper? And all the time he served, serving your king and country, he paid national insurance.
Mm.
I mean, basically, we're going to give you 5 shillings a day to go and get shot at, and you're going to pay 1 shilling and 9pence a day national insurance.
Yeah, plus, I mean, Keith, you'll know a lot about this. I mean, the Japs used to pay a wage to the workers, didn't they?
That's right, yeah.
Yep.
And they had to buy their food.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
and the medicines.
They got paid, but they used to have to buy their food. So they were getting double wages. They were getting paid by the Japs and also getting paid by the British when they got back.
I think if the government had realised they were getting paid, they'd have actually taken it out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But anyway, it's been a really good meeting. I've really enjoyed it. Kevin, rather, do you want to finish off what you were saying? Or did we interrupt you?
I interrupted, I'm sorry.
Kevin?
Yes?
Yeah, we interrupted you. Did you have anything else to say? You were talking.
That was big this year. There was one strange thing last night. I was looking on the American website, and a picture came up. It's a picture of prisoners of war who were actually released from the prisoner of war camp my father was in. But it's always attributed as Australian prisoners of war. It always comes up that these are Australian prisoners of war. And I was able to put on the one, and it's a picture of that the Argyle and Sutherland man, Tom Waldthorpe. He actually wrote a book called Sayonara My Enemy, and I had a look last night on Amazon. It's £600 to buy. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting how these things just turn up out of nowhere, you know. But it was quite an interest because there was a lot of discussion about this photograph, and there was a lot of younger people were talking about it, about their grandfather. So there is a massive interest of people still going on.
Yeah, I've had quite a few emails sent to me by parents about what the children have done at school, which is quite interesting. Some of it is quite good, some is a bit misleading, but some of it is quite good, and there's some really good articles there. But of course, just lately, I just haven't had the time to put them on. Keith, if you can, or any of you can help me on Facebook, because there's still people asking, and because my head is down working on this, compiling this list, I haven't had the time to do a lot of these answers.
I can, I do pick up stuff on Facebook that I take to Q to look for questionnaires if they're not on the CoVPO site. If people want help, it's not a problem.
So if you can help me a bit, because I honestly, when I put my head down doing this, my head is down, and I just carry on.
Yeah, I'm not on the computer as long as you are, but I can pick them up. It's not a problem.
I do need help though with that, because I don't like letting people down. And I had a chap the other day. He sent me an email. I did put it on because I did do it for him. But
so just to say, I've got to go now, Ronnie. So
thanks, Walter. See you 15th.
Try not to leave it so long next time. Cheers.
15th, Walter.
Cheers, thank you.
See you later. He sent me an email. You're now compiling the L's, and I've got some information for you to add. I know, they don't understand how much you've got to do this end. And he sent me all this information, so I did put the page on for him, which was that was someone in the L's. I did put it on. I can't remember it now, his name, but I collated it and put it on for him. But they don't understand how much you've got to do. They just think it just happens. Yeah, and it just doesn't happen, does it?
No.
I think
it takes time.
In this modern day of everything's at everybody's fingertips, and kids can go on Google or whatever and find out all they want to. They expect everything to be there, they think that that everything is going to be there. And I've been asked, well, it takes you so long. What do you do all day? I'm thinking, well, just for the Burma Star and for yourselves and for my own sake and for other people, I can spend days on one name trying to work out which one of the Fred Thomases he could be. Because you get asked, my granddad served in the war. What did he do? I know he was in Burma. Well, who's he with?
I
think it was in the RAF. And you look at that. Yeah. And you find there's 400, 500, 600 Fred Thomases who served in the RAF.
Well, you get a name like a Smith and initials.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And so you get Smith and A.S. Smith. Can you tell me about my dad? Oh, jeez. Or you get an A. Smith. And dude. But people don't understand. And, when we first started, Keith, this was before I knew you, because I started in the 90s, and I started compiling the symmetries, because, my dad had a guilt complex about making it hum, and that did really affect him. So to help him, I started putting the roles on the web so he knew they were remembered. But when I used to get in touch with the Commonwealth War Graves, that wasn't like it is now.
Oh, no.
The chap used to send me a Word document, not in format, just a Word document with all their names on, and where they were, what grave they were buried in. and I had to physically write everyone out one by one, and that used to take me about 6 months to do one cemetery. That's how it used to be. Now it's a lot easier because you can just download a full list from the Commonwealth War Graves, and it's just instant. You've got a spreadsheet. But then that wasn't like that. But the chap, I must admit, I think his name was Derek or David. He used to help me no end with the lists. He used to send me loads. I used to just say to him, I want a list on so-and-so cemetery, and he used to send me it. But, of course, you had to translate it, which took time. Anyway, it's been a really good meeting. We're now 11:30, so we've gone way over, but it's been a good meeting. Sorry if I talked a lot at the beginning, but I have got to put apologies in because it's got to a stage where we're getting more people, and when they read or when they look at the video later on site, that's nice for them to see we did mention apologies. So I think we're there. Okay, everyone, sorry I've talked so much.
Well, I apologise. I'd like to say thank you to you, Ronnie, for doing it. Barbara, I hope your voice gets better. Keith, I've got last time we spoke, I said I've got something I want to put up by you. I'm still going to find it. I've been snowed under with so much going on at the moment.
Okay.
I've got grandchildren arriving, son's getting married, or not getting married, and oh God. And he crashed my car as well when he went to the passport office, which he told me after when he got to Manchester. Oh, by the way, I had a crash in Peterborough. He's driving my car. Never mind. So I've got that to sort out. When he gets back, I've received a parking fine for £100 for a 15-minute stay at the hotel car park. That he said, "Oh, don't pay it." We're going, "It's not easy as that. I've got to pay these things." And he's going, "Well, I wouldn't." To me, you're going back to Brunei next week. It doesn't affect you. So I've had that, but I've got some stuff I want to put by you, Naked.
Okay.
Kevin, it's nice to meet you. And I'm going to go now.
Yeah, that's really been good, everyone. Really been good. Enjoyed the meeting, and we'll see you on. Are you okay on the 15th, Keith?
I should be, yes. I won't be going to Kew because I'm getting back from London very late on the 14th.
That is a Saturday.
Yeah,
because
I know.
People have been asking me to have a Saturday meeting because they go to church on a Sunday. So I think we've got to have it.
Yeah,
so
well, I can do the 15th because I'm not going to Kew. I won't get home until about midnight on the 14th, and there's no way I'm getting up at 4 o'clock and then try and drive to Kew at 6. It's not going to work.
No, well, if I'm not about, if you can start the meeting off, but by that time I try and be about because we want to sort out these books.
Yep. Okay.
And I want to listen to Barbara. Oh, I'm looking forward to that, Barbara.
I'm not.
Anyway, thanks everyone.
Okay. All right.
Get better soon,
Barbara.
Okay.
See
you later. Bye.
Barbara, before you go, is there any room still left on the coach for Cosford?
Yes. You want to come on the coach?
What I'll do is I'll go from Tamworth to Birmingham. I'll catch an early train. So if I catch up, say, an 8 o'clock train, I can get some breakfast at the hotel.
Okay, so, the coach is leaving at
9:30. Yeah. I'll drop you an email.
I don't know if you can still hear me. I don't know whether I've